Brother Time does not offer medical, financial, or any other kind of professional advice or opinion. This is just us talking about things we want to talk about, so take it with a grain of salt. Let me pull up this catchphrase. A true cowboy is one who says it was nothing when it was everything, and that believes that he did better than first, but worse than last. That is a cowboy quote that I found on the wall of a Longhorn Steakhouse men's restroom.
Wow. It explains the Dallas Cowboys.
So the thing about this quote, it is kind of weird to take your phone out and take a picture in a public restroom, but this quote was really interesting to me, right?
It struck you.
It struck me because the first part makes sense, right? A true cowboy is one who says it was nothing when it was everything. That's kind of that has a nice ring to it, right?
Yeah, that is nice. You could have stopped there, but you kept going.
Yeah, but the second half makes no sense. And he believes that he did better than first, but worse than last? It was a head scratcher.
Did they flip that?
They might have accidentally done it backwards. How would that be? Okay. And that believes he did better than last, but worse than first. I mean, that's still kind of weird, but it's, it makes more sense. So one thought I had about what they meant is like, how something can be so bad that it becomes good? Like a movie can be so bad, like it's so awful, so poorly done that it actually comes full circle and becomes entertaining because it's so bad. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
think that must be what they meant.
I'm getting some sort of like bipolar vibe from it, though. Like I'm the worst and I'm the best at the same time.
Yeah, it's probably meant to like be humble, right? Because the first part sounds humble. It was nothing when really it was very costly. Like you're doing someone a favor, which I think that's great.
Yeah,
like that's a cool message.
Like you pulled someone out of the fire. And you lost a lot in the process, but yeah, that's the kind of vibe I got. But then you tell the person you saved, like, oh, it was nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm Josh, 8 of 10, and I wouldn't consider myself, based on this quote, I wouldn't consider myself to be a true cowboy because I don't know what the second half of the quote means.
You don't even fathom.
So I can't I think I'm better than, I don't know. You can go now.
I'm Isaac, 5 of 10. My feelings on it, I'm not a true cowboy and I don't want to be. Maybe the first half I try to be sort of stoic and not make people feel indebted when I do things for them. And as a habit?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think, there's a give and take there because you don't want to be taken advantage of. So you don't want people to just like expect everything out of you and never give you anything in return. But
well, do you do things for the return, or do you do things because you want to do them?
I think everything I do, it's because I want to do it, even if I don't think I want to do it.
No, it's so true, man. I once started, like, I realized I was being nice to these people who were just, I didn't like them. I didn't want to be nice to them, but I was nice to them anyways. And I was beating myself up over it because I was like, these people think I like them and that we're friends just because I'm nice to them and they've got this. But you know what I mean? Like I could not figure out, but I'd prefer to be nice. And you can't let other people I guess, shape your behavior, because then they are manipulating you. But anyways, I feel like I need to have a switch, more of a switch that's like not nice mode. You know what I mean?
You like power down, like you slump your head forward, and then suddenly your head shoots up, and your like eyes are red. You're like, not nice mode, and just start breaking things.
Yeah, it just breaks. I like that.
Well, let's all think about how we would transition into not nice mode over this break. And we're back to talk about Amazon being worse and in general quality of things on the internet. I don't know if you've noticed.
You mean like Amazon? You're talking about which part of Amazon?
I think so. I think it's a lot of things about Amazon just kind of culminating into this weird dystopian situation of a website. So it's part of how they incentivize their sellers to have a lot of positive reviews in order to be higher on the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because if you ever pull up an item on Amazon and it has over 1,000 reviews, I'm sure it's not that much, but if it has over 1,000 reviews, it's safe to assume it's all fake. It's not real.
I thought you were about to go the other way. You're saying it's safe to assume all of those are fake.
Most of them are probably fake. Yeah.
That's a good point, though. That's a really good point, because I know there's this guy at work who used to do all of his gift shopping on Amazon, but he used there's this tool that you can use where the seller will send you a gift card for the cost of the item you bought if you leave a positive review. So there's a list of these sellers who will do it. And the products are the worst products on Amazon, but they will straight up give you the cost of the item as a gift card if you leave good feedback on the product. That's the only thing you have to do. So he would do all his Christmas shopping that way, and the stories about the items were pretty epic. But he had this office chair, this gaming chair that he bought that way, and it had like dozens of features on it, like cup holder, chair warmer, all these things. Every one of them was awful. And that chair just fell apart within a year.
It's like the chair warmer. It's like you load the bottom with coals. Like it comes with a tiny bag of coals with the chair. And it's like, put these in the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably isn't even that well thought out. It's probably it's
probably like hand warmers that you like break open and you tuck into these pockets. They're not really pockets. They just cut holes in the pleather. And it's not really even pleather. It's literally just plastic sheet that's been painted black. And
so this weird thing where like most of the products on Amazon, the rating is not reliable. It's almost like if you find something that only has 30 reviews on it, it's more reliable than something that has 30,000 reviews on it. And unless it's something that a ton of people are buying and has been around for a while, if you see over 1,000 reviews, like it's probably mostly bots. So there's that. And online, I've been seeing a lot more stories of people trying to return items and Amazon just flat out not giving them their money back by either they return the item and then Amazon's tracking on the return says something like, we haven't received your return yet. It's still in transit. After they've gone through the process of dropping it off at the designated location to return it. And then eventually Amazon just says, it looks like your item was lost in transit on the return. oh well, you don't get your money back. Like that sort of thing has been happening a
Oh,
lot more.
can you do insurance on the return, or do they pay for it?
They usually designate everything about it. Like they say, like you get to pick where you return the item. Like if you want to return it at a Kohl's, at a UPS store, and
Whoa,
they
you're
pay for
handing it,
everything.
yeah, you're handing it to a person at like Kohl's, and then the the person, like, you're handing it to someone they designated as trustable. So the Kohl's
Yes.
person could be like, "You handed me 5 rocks. I'm not returning this as a laptop." So they have their own gate of network trust that you're handing. Like they have a person on their end that they're
Yeah.
designating as trusted. That's bizarre that they don't give you a stack of cash when you hand it to the person at Kohl's and
Yeah.
just say,
And
here's your money back. Thanks for bringing the item back."
yeah, it's unfortunate because I feel like I can't, like I'm returning these headphones I mentioned to you before we started
Yeah.
recording. I'm going to return these headphones.
Over the ear ones that make your ears hot.
Yeah, they make my ears quite warm, so my head is hot right now. My head is like on fire. No, not on fire. That sounds like a medical condition. No, I'm
Did you have to add the hand warmers to the headphone? Oh.
yeah, these little pockets on the sides of my no, but I'm hoping I don't run into an issue because it seems like lately I've been seeing those stories online a lot more frequently than usual of people having an issue with returns.
Yeah, well, Amazon was predicated on the user experience. Like the initial success of Amazon was, we're going to make this the best shopping experience imaginable online, and we're going to find a way to make it scalable, sustainable, and everything about it is going to be buyer focused. So even some of their practices are somewhat horrible to sellers on Amazon, because you can say by some miracle you find a product or you create a product and you're selling it on Amazon and you're actually turning a profit. Well, other sellers can hone in on your profitability and they can be like, "Oh, he's selling spoons on here. I can get a supplier in China that can make something similar. I can undercut him by $2. I can use his same, like, just adjust his sales pitch just slightly enough to where someone coming in might even think I'm that guy. And I can steal all his customers. I can promote my spoons." So yeah, there's no protection against that. Amazon doesn't care because they're going to sell more spoons if there's more competition. And guess what? The buyers get a cheaper price. So yeah, they're not going to help out any of their sellers.
Yeah, and it sounds like a win-win, but the truth is that second person that comes up with the cheaper item is the item is sometimes fine, but often it is awful, and it's way worse than the original item. And so people will buy it. And this is the other thing about Amazon that has just gotten worse and worse is when I'm looking for stuff, I'm having to kind of have like a sub process in my brain that's saying, okay, this is cheaper than the other thing, but is it really the same thing? Because it could just be, instead of the Apple EarPods, it could be, a knockoff version of the Apple EarPods that is just awful to use and it's going to be terrible quality. Like, how am I supposed to know that without buying it, trying it, and then returning it if I don't like it? And if I can't return it, if their returns are being crazy and I never get my money back, it's just I'm out that money.
Yeah. And what can you do in that situation? It does feel powerless, except and I think this isn't a fair thing to say, but pursuing it through Amazon relentlessly, I'm sure there's going to be like a class action lawsuit in the near future that somehow ends up in Amazon's favor. Someone's knocking at the door. What is it, sweetie? What are you doing down here? Hold on.
Does she want to weigh in on the?
She's so cute. It's my it's my emerald. She's got a controller. Oh, you can't hear her crying, can you?
No.
Anyway, sorry about that interruption. What were we saying?
No, we're good. I actually think we should take a quick break before we move on to our other topics. So let's take a quick break.
Okay. Down and got her right after I opened the door.
Oh, okay. Well, I got probably the second half of that sentence, so I guess we'll wait and hear what it sounds like to the listener.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed when I first connected, it was a little choppy from you, but it's good now. So I don't know. Haven't had any issues since.
Okay. So next here we have fiber. You mentioned that you were having issues with your internet, and you asked me about fiber, and you said we could have it as a topic. So what's this topic about?
Yeah. Well, there's more than one use for fiber. I'm talking about drinking it.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, you can drink it or you can use it for internet, which is kind of a weird to use of fiber, like two ways to use fiber, but
yeah. And so so I don't know. I have higher cholesterol, and I don't feel like I got good guidance for what to do about it from my doctor. They sent me to a nutritionist, and I talked to the nutritionist, and they're just
and the nutritionist said, "You're eating how many cheeseburgers each day?"
And yeah, I didn't like their tone, so I hung up on them. And then I'm like, well, I can either do fiber internet to look up my own nutrition stuff, or I can drink fiber, and maybe that'll help. So I started drinking fiber.
Yeah, I'll periodically drink. I think we talked about water soluble fiber before.
Did we?
Yeah, you can just
clump up like an hour later.
Oh, I haven't noticed that. I usually drink it right away.
You drink the whole thing and you don't wait to find out.
Well, I stir it up and then I just drink whatever I stirred it into. I'm not usually just like leaving it.
That's fair. I make bigger drinks, and then I add like vitamin powders to it, and minerals, and I started adding fiber to it, but you come back to it like an hour later and there's this blob swimming in your drink.
Oh, that's weird.
It's coagulated into
that sounds really, yeah, even the word coagulated makes it sound very unappealing. Like I don't want to drink that.
It isn't appealing. It's not appealing. It's like, is this okay? And I've tasted that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What did it taste like?
The goo it's actually like all the different powder stuff. Somehow the fiber starts binding it together. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it tastes like all the powder stuff is what you're saying.
Yeah, all the flavorings and vitamins just come together and into that. So it's like concentrated. So it tastes okay, but it has a horrible texture. So
I think texture is an essential component of taste. So it tastes horrible is what you're saying. To my ears.
Texture is part of taste?
Yeah, I think texture is an essential component of taste to consider.
So would you say it's flavor then that I'm saying was good, but the texture flavor?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's probably okay. Yeah, maybe that was very. But what I mean is, like, if I taste something and the flavor is good, but the texture is horrible, I think it's awful. Like, I don't want it. I don't want to eat it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Texture is really important to me when it comes to food.
So much so that it bleeds over into, like, you would say you'd say it tastes bad because of the. Okay.
Yeah. I would say I would call it disgusting.
I'm just making sure you're not moving the goalposts and you're not.
Yeah, which you put this topic in last week and we didn't get to it, but I think we should go in and move this to the next week again. No, I'm just no. So moving goalposts. This is something people do when you start to kick a ball, right? Through the air and they don't want you to make a goal. They take the post and they move it.
I mean, that is a good visual. That's a good visual. Like, let's say the ball was just going to barely make it into the goal and they're not satisfied with that. So they pick up the posts and they move them back. I don't think that's a healthy way to interact with people. I think it's really bad. I'm sure there are experts that agree, but I don't care.
Well, I think in terms of arguments, when someone is moving the goalposts, I think it goes hand in hand with what's called cognitive dissonance, where there is an adverse reaction to like your worldview being challenged in a way. And so you tend to react poorly and maybe just shut down and say, no, none of that's real. What you're saying is not real. You know, that kind of reaction. And I think part of that is you say, like, I'm trying to think of a good example of it.
It's the no true Scotsman thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, well, this Scotsman does it. Well, he's not a true Scotsman. Well, this guy, is he a true Scotsman? Maybe. Did he?
Yeah, he's a true Scotsman. And then you say, but he did X, and you say, well, he's not a true Scotsman. You kind of just keep shifting.
Yeah. It's you've defined the world view as like no one scores a goal. So when you're like, okay, they kicked it into the goal. Well, no, the goal is you move the goalpost. And that was too meta.
Maybe, but the goalpost moving though could also be the effect of someone just not knowing enough about a topic to where maybe they know enough. Yeah, maybe they know enough to say XYZ is a fact, and then you say, okay, what about this? And they're just fixated on the one thing they know about a topic, and so when you contradict it, they can say. It's hard to say this without a specific example, which I'm struggling to come up with a good example. But I mean, are you a true cowboy? That's the question.
Right. No true cowboy.
We should change it from no true Scotsman to no true cowboy. That's more fun, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's more like in. Texas is the biggest state, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Or is Alaska bigger?
What are you getting at?
I was trying to. I actually wasn't sure if Texas was the biggest state for a moment. I think
I feel
Alaska might be bigger. Which
Texas the biggest state? feels like the biggest state.
Biggest state in the USA is Alaska.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, Texas is the biggest state. Because, size is not everything. See, I just moved the goalpost.
Yeah, so no true Texan, no true cowboy would believe that Alaska is the biggest state.
Yeah, so for the moving goalposts, that would be like me saying Texas is the biggest state, like it's a fact, like I know that much about the world. And you say, Alaska's technically more square miles than Texas. And I would say, well, but the biggest state doesn't mean land. it means like the biggest, like the most people. And then you'd say, well, this place has more people. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean more people. Just means people know more about Texas than other places. You see how like you kind of redefine what you're saying about something when you move the goalposts.
Yeah, I understood moving goalposts, but yeah, I feel like we're on the same page. But as a practice, I think it's really bad for morale, even in in a professional setting, to set a goal. When you reach that goal, instead of celebrating it, you say, "Oh, well, we need." You just gloss over the fact that you've made some sort of achievement, and you're like, "No, what we really need to get done is ABC again."
I see.
Instead of or even in conversations, if you get to, I'm sure in IT you have, instead of moving the goalpost, just set up new goalposts. And if there's
I've got a particular user where she will bring an IT issue, and we'll solve that issue relatively quickly, and she'll kind of in the same breath like respond with another issue completely unrelated, as if we're having some kind of back and forth argument about whether or not she has an IT issue. It's weird, right? Like in a sense, that's moving the goalposts, where she's like, if this could be solved, if this could be solved, I would be good to keep working. Okay, well, solved. Well, but hold on. If this could be solved, I'd be fine to keep working. I can't work until... Okay, well, solved. Well, no. If this were solved, it's just like... It's a weird...
they're pretending they're related, almost. But it's like, I've got this grocery list of things, and I tell you to buy milk, and I'll have groceries. You get there... Like, you bring the milk back, and they're like, "Yeah, but I also need cheese." It's so silly. That's that's got to get documented. And just,
it is, yeah, for sure. It's documented.
Have you talked to this person directly about that behavior too? Not that it's your job, even. I'm just wildly curious now, because that sounds incredibly entertaining. In its own,
it can be kind of funny. Like we'll laugh about it sometimes at work a little bit, because it is kind of silly, this whole thing. But I'm a fan of preventing HR issues as much as possible. Like, I don't want an IT issue to become an HR issue, so I will try my best to just resolve it and keep everyone working in their job without it becoming a whole. But there have been several points where I have to kind of say, okay, this is out of hand. Like, this has become misbehavior. This is no longer you have a legitimate IT issue. This is your
it's malicious. And the sad part is, they may be trying to set you up to look like the problem too. Because if they then say, "Well, I gave them all these," you stop at issue number 9, and you're like, "No." Then they can turn around and say, "Well, I have these issues, and IT isn't taking care of them." Like, they're you know what I mean? Like, and from their perspective, they might actually believe their own. It's kind of weird how people operate, but they might actually believe themselves to be the victim somehow of that situation. But it sounds like they just don't want to work, and they're trying to make IT.
Unfortunately, that can be common sometimes, and people that do that don't usually last very long at a company, because there's usually a lot more going on than just them trying to find excuses not to do their job. Whereas their coworkers are doing just fine and hitting their targets, whereas they're just like having problem after problem after problem that seems to just never end. And
it reminds me of the guy. I'm sorry to segue, but there was this guy when I was doing rough framing. His first day, like the first hour, he was doing great. the second hour, you could tell he was getting tired, and it's just like, dude, you got to keep pushing. And what he started doing was sharpening his pencil whenever he wanted to break. He would just sit and sharpen his pencil over and over again. And so if someone walking by saw him, he'd be sharpening his pencil, which is, you take a razor blade and you just cut it. It takes like 5 seconds to do. So yeah, he got like gone really quick. It was like he was trying to invent an issue, like a problem to solve that made it look like he was working. But he even said to me, he was like, if you ever need to take a break, you just start sharpening your pencil. No one will say anything to you. I'm like, it made me speechless, because I was like, we have stuff to do. If there's like everyone has things to do. You're not here because they want to pay you and they're looking for any, you showed up today? Oh, cool. Here's your paycheck. There's no one like that.
Yeah.
And that sort of, and I think maybe that's part of the problem with your person who is like, it's a perspective issue of like, if you show up, you're there for 8 hours, you get paid. Where from the top down, they're like, what is this person contributing? They sharpen their pencil for 8 hours today? No way. No, get out. Don't come back. Yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
That's why it reminded me of them.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a long day as a couple cowboys.
Yeah.
So let's put down our canteens. Do they carry canteens, or is that something? Anyway, let's take one last break.
If they carried canteens, they'd put it in their hat. That's all I'm going to say.
I think you could fit 10 gallons of canteens in your hat.
Maybe. Right? Yeah. Probably.
How do you get a 10-gallon hat anyway? How do you know it's a 10-gallon hat? Do you like empty 10 gallons of milk into it?
Every true cowboy knows the answer to this question.
A true cowboy wouldn't have to ask about a 10-gallon hat.
Oh, maybe that's a better way. A true cowboy wouldn't ask.
Well, after this long road, we're riding into the sunset as a couple of cowboys, and we want to thank the listeners for listening. So thank you, listeners. I need to declare a winner. I think the winner this week is, it's Ben. Actually,
I feel like right at the end you moved the goalposts.
I might have, but I secretly had a way to judge the winner. It was going to be the first brother other than me that got on Diablo 4 this morning. And I saw Ben logged in. I actually don't know that he got into the game because he never got on voice chat. But I did see he logged in and you didn't. So he just won by that. So congrats, Ben, on your win this week.
Congratulations, Ben. It's not really fair because I'm having all these IT issues. I can't really. Yeah, well, but every time they solve the issue, you keep coming up with another one. Yeah, because it's a bigger issue with multiple moving parts. But we'll get it resolved eventually. Till then, I'm not working.
Well, congrats, Ben, on your win. I mean, he's not here, but I'll send him this trophy in the mail.
Trophy this time. Is it a big 10-gallon hat?
Yeah, it's a big 10-gallon hat filled
with milk.
Cowboy. To the brim with milk. Yeah, it's a 10-gallon milk hat. But you can, if you enjoyed the podcast, you can rate and review us in whatever podcast app you use. And you can also find us online at brothertimepod.com.
brothertimepod.com. That's where